Hi, it's Alice from Body and Brows. I'm going to do a quick setup demonstration of the microblading tool. This is something often that students struggle with. I'm going to go through in a little bit of depth as to how and why we set up. So first things first, we'll have a look at the tools that I'm going to use. This is an Everlasting Brows Majestic tool. It's single use, it's plastic, it gets disposed of after each client. I do have an autoclave, but the safest way to treat your clients is making sure that everything that you use is disposable. You know then that you haven't got any cross-contamination. We have a sterility indicator. You should be looking for this on all of your equipment, and this also has a batch number and an expiry date. To be extra safe, and for some local authorities, they will require for you to make a note of these details on your client's files, so that we know that we have that here. I'm also going to use the Everlasting Brows blades. These are one of my favourite blades to use. They're double sharpened. They are, again, single use, sterile. They come in a number of different widths, gauges, sizes. They also do shading blades, and they all fit very nicely into this tool. This is also a universal tool, so sometimes I do like to use another brand blade, and they fit quite nicely into here as well. The blade that I'm going to use today is the 11 and the 0.25, so that means that we have 11 separate pins in our microblade, and that the width of each of those individual pins is 0.25. I generally like to use a 0.25 if I'm working on latex, because 0.18 or smaller generally are really quite fine, and whilst they're lovely to use on skin, it's a little bit more difficult to use them without bending the blade on latex, because latex is tougher than skin. So that's the reason I'm using that today. Okay, so we're going to open our tool. And our tool here is in 3 separate sections. I'll actually open it totally for you so that you can see. So you have the part that the blade would go in. There's a little round nodule in there, so if you're using a round shading blade or a wider set blade, then you have that there. And then those screw nicely together. And then my blade, again, single use, sterile blade. I'm just going to push that out of the back of the paper. And I'm going to open that just enough so that I'm protecting the blade on the end, with it still being in its packet. And I can slide that into my microblade. Now this blade should always be set at an angle, like this. So you think about it being like a boot that's kicking away from you, rather than a boot that's kicking towards you, and that you'll know then that you've got it set up in the right direction. Some people do have it set up this way, but I think it makes far more sense to work this way, so that you are working and pulling towards you. You generally get a more even pressure when you're working in that way. And you want to make sure that it's kind of all the way over, so that when you're thinking about working on the skin, that this angle is respectful of that and works with that angle. What you don't want is, you don't want it too far out like this. The angle then is not conducive, and also we've got far too much flexibility here, if you see how the blade flexes. And we don't want it all the way in. Again, we've take away some flexibility being like that. So we want it a little way out and set across at an angle, and then we can tighten that up. So that's your blade set up and ready to go.